The Morning Dump from Hurrdat Sports with Andrew Rogers and Damon Benning.
For all things extra that we can't get to on Coffee and Cream in the Morning, it's Morning Dump with Damon Benning and Andrew Rogers. I have taken off my jacket. You're right, it did get a little warm in here.
It was like that from the jump. But
although I was nice, I was cozy.
You were part of the polar caps this morning, so it was like you thought it was cold. And I walked in immediately, and I'm like,
I knew you would.
It's 80 in here.
Well, because you walked in without a jacket on, and I said, DB, it's 1
degree barely ever
outside.
wear a winter coat.
I know, and it's crazy.
So contrary to
it's crazy.
The funny stories.
But that's because
to the funny stories about my ethnicity, I don't mind the cold.
I was more on the side of, well, you used to play football.
That's where I got it from. I think people know that.
And that's why you like the cold.
And
you coach.
I don't like it. I just embrace it.
Okay, that's a different point. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, those are the blue.
You have the prettiest daughter.
She's wearing like the
unbelievable.
What do you call those again?
You're in trouble. You're in deep doo-doo.
She's unreal.
Whenever she gets to an age where a guy's knocking on the door, hey, Mr. Benning.
They won't come over.
Mr. Benning.
They won't come over.
Mr. Benning, can I take your daughter to the dance?
Well, you were with me. I just texted Caleb's girlfriend this morning. Like
cringeworthy to hear. Anybody else cringe when I say Mr. Benning? Anybody else out there? Because he said
I didn't feel good saying it.
Hey, Sophie, Mr. Benning here.
I didn't. Nobody that's my dad. Nobody says that.
And it's funny because
I'm either DB, Coach
right.
B. Like, nobody says Mr. Benning.
Except for Sophie.
Even the people at the dentist appointment that I just moved, they were like, hey, we got to get some x-rays, new client, customer.
Yeah.
Am I a customer? Like, new whatever.
Patient. I got you. I was trying to help you get there.
Hey, we'd like to grab some x-rays just because we want everything digital and not whatever.
Yeah, I had to do that when I went back.
So I was like, oh, okay. Hey, I'm still at the studio. Can I reschedule? And even she said.
Yeah, DB, you're good.
She said coach.
Wow.
I'd never met her a day in my life. At least I don't think so. Because she didn't sound like the receptionist the first time I went.
Funny, that's actually Rizak's mom.
Pardon?
your Teddy and Anthony. Yeah, that's their mom.
Lisa.
Yeah,
she's fantastic.
Can you imagine if that was like who you were talking to? And
yeah,
you didn't
but that's not
it?
what she.
No,
does.
it wasn't Rizak's mom. I was just kidding. I'm just kidding.
By the way, you want somebody that's like really, really good at the whole parental versus get you ready for real life thing and doesn't blur the lines, although some people think they're one and the same. Lisa Rizak.
I figured that's where you were going with that.
She's amazing. She is amazing. Used to be an accountant. Ended up falling in love with DJ, which I still give her a hard time for. It's like they're fantastic.
Hey, they repopulated the earth with some athletes.
Hey, so I watched his throwing session with Iowa State on Friday. And all bias aside, no idea why you wouldn't offer. He was so on point. He just, again, winner. You've seen him, winner.
Oh, yeah.
And
I watched him at least 4 or 5 weeks.
Upsides through the roof. Get him early.
Yeah, there's a lot good there. Now, we let off the show today. We'll get back to Creighton because I know we didn't get to talk about them enough as the show winded down. But we let off the show today talking about officiating. And I, oddly enough, had my first taste of officiating in Omaha over the weekend. I was an official for some type of holiday tournament. Can't remember what it was called, but it was at Bellevue Lead.
Yeah.
And I reffed 6 games, and I can't feel my calves.
6 games straight, correct?
6 games straight. I was working with a guy, his name's Will. Jim Sowers, I also met him. He's told me to
good
tell you
A.
hello.
Good A. He's a good dude.
He is.
He
listens all the time.
Did it make it fun?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
So he stopped by, checked in on me a couple of times. I think he just wanted to talk.
Hey,
sports.
can you feel your legs?
Dude, I still can't feel my calves. Ashley and I went to get massages yesterday.
Oh, you're
I asked
so
them,
bougie.
dude. I asked them to do my legs and arms because that's like the package. But I said really focus on the calves because
offensive foul.
Oh, dude,
And one.
I did not stretch. It was, that pretty close.
Open, close. Do you know the difference between a violation and a foul? Because most people that ref don't. It's like, if you just do this, I don't have to wait for you to say. Or if you close your fist, I don't have to wait for you to let me know. Or
this is hey, there was just like a stoppage.
Yeah.
And it could either be a travel, it could be a double dribble.
That would be a violation versus.
Correct. Versus this, which means, hey, you smacked the poop out of someone. Right? You smacked the dump out of someone.
So were you tickled? Were you a star?
I thoroughly enjoy officiating. Plus, I love when I hear it from coaches and parents. Let me tell you my favorite story from a parent.
This is great. Let's go.
Let me tell you my favorite parent story. So,
what age grade?
This would have been seventh or eighth grade to start.
Okay.
And this team was up 25, 30 points.
Okay.
And their fans were complaining that a foul wasn't called on a shot with under a minute to go on their team. They're up 25, 30 points. As referees, we never want to say it, but we're trying to, get this game over with. So it's not more of a beatdown.
Right.
Why would we call a foul in favor of the winning team when they're up 30 points if it's really not egregious?
So do you want to be at Papio Southwest side and you call it technical with 27 seconds left?
You're kidding.
No. I saw it.
So this guy, he's chirping at me. He wearing a Kansas sweatshirt.
So is it a parent or the coach?
A parent.
Okay.
And he's like, that's a call 371 times out of the year. And he's just yapping. And I look over at him because the game's almost over. And I just smile. And the two guys to his right started dying because they didn't think they were going to solicit a reaction. Mm-hmm. But for me, I don't mind. I don't mind hearing some chirps and chopping back.
You work with a guy that we have some back and forth.
Right. So I'm letting him say his piece. And I said, hey, just because you're hostile about KU losing 3 straight doesn't mean you take it out on me. And dude just keeps going. And then I'm just smiling, laughing at him back and forth. And then he goes oh, man, you're cool as shit. That's what he said. Conversation.
Drew down one over the masses.
End of
Weird.
conversation. Then later on in the day, a coach traveling in from St. Joe, because I like to spark conversation up with both coaches prior to the game.
Look at you.
I let them have my name because if they need to address me for something, go ahead and say it. I want everyone to know who you're talking to.
My favorite is when you let them know that you'll put them on blast because you have a huge morning show.
Yeah, exactly. It's 100. It's nobody's gonna want to talk to me after this. But the coach, so they were a handsy team.
Yeah.
Get up on you, and they were hindering the play whenever they were playing defense. When they were defending, dude would do a crossover, kind of get a lead, but defensively, what do? You get handsy, you try to catch back up. And so I call a lot of touch fouls because I set the tone right away. You are not going to get away with reaches.
Oh, you're that guy.
And you are not going to get away
Mr. Tone
with that
Setter.
Type of physical pressure.
Where's Jill?
She's the woman behind the curtain. And so I called 3 straight fouls on this team.
Yeah.
Because they were basically shucking their I guess the man that they were guarding. They were just shucking him.
Yeah.
Like you would as a lineman in football. And he goes, dude, I'm not going to have enough players to play the rest of the game. He was getting snippy right as I called the third foul. And I said, maybe you should have brought more guys.
Yeah.
You should have brought more guys. You're going to foul a lot. Bring some more guys.
You're ready for the Metro. So how many more games are you ready for in a weekend?
So, like I said, I did 6, and I felt like I was about to die. The guy I did some work with, guess how many games he did in a row?
119
It is not uncommon. I've seen guys on a Friday, Saturday, or a Sunday do 8 straight. So I'll go with 8.
14.
Oh, so he's that dude.
Mm-hmm. His name is Will.
Yeah.
He's a black guy,
I am
older,
Will.
in his 50s.
I am Will.
Jim Sowers said you would know him just based on
Well, I know
14 games.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
So guess what else he is?
Is he probably the guy that mows your lawn?
No. Who do you think he's a fan of?
You.
He's a Nebraska fan.
Okay.
Constantly wanting insight on the Huskers.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
He didn't know what I did or who I worked with.
That's good.
Yeah. I don't want people to know that.
No.
Now, I did ref a game, West Side, Junior West Side, or Junior Warriors.
Junior Warriors?
Junior West Side. Junior Warriors, 7th grade, 8th grade, maybe 8th grade.
Any good?
They were okay. They held their own. They played a team that was much better than them.
Yeah.
That should have probably destroyed them, but didn't because they didn't shoot the ball well.
Do you remember the organization?
Organization, what do you mean?
OSA,
the team that was
Junior
good?
T-Birds, Junior Warriors.
It was Junior Warriors.
No, who were they playing?
It was a team. They were the Balloon Elite.
Oh, Balloon Elite.
Yeah.
Balloon Elite. Do you want a funny story about Balloon Elite?
Go ahead.
Do you know who the architect behind?
I think it was Balloon Elite.
Yeah, it's Balloon Elite. Do you know who the architect behind Balloon Elite is?
Taylor?
No, who?
You want a funny story?
Yeah, let's go.
Devontae?
Bud Crawford.
No way.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Is the
Why
architect.
basketball for him?
He likes it, and so one of the guys that started the program is family.
That's crazy. So are they local?
Yeah, Balloon Elite is from Omaha.
I wonder who these kids played for.
So there's so if you go north side, there's Balloon Elite, Salvation Army, Team Nebraska Express,
Okay.
TNE. A lot of those guys have at one point shared kids. TNE is our organization. I say our. That's Caleb, Mike. That's Alvin Mitchell, Sharif's dad,
Okay.
CJ's dad. He's Team Nebraska Express. The Salvation Army and Balloon Elite the Sal used to be Terrence's guy, but they kind of left Balloon Elite and they started at the Salvation Army. So they're called TSA, and Balloon Elite are his 2 nephews.
Got it.
That's
okay.
how that
crazy.
started.
See, because there were so many teams that came in from Kansas City, Missouri.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
So that must have been
majority were
Felici's
local.
tournament. You were out at the Elite Center
Yeah.
in Bellevue. Yeah,
Mhm.
we usually play in that tournament, but for whatever the reason this year we didn't.
Micah or Caleb?
Caleb. Well, they both have.
Okay.
So, historically, at that age group, we play in that tournament.
Got it.
Yeah.
It was some good basketball.
Yeah.
I mean, there were some players out there.
So they have they have 5 courts, right? They have the one in the corner plus the 4 in succession. Did you like the floors?
No. They
Yeah.
were slippery.
That's the only downside to that facility because everything else, like Felici, they kind of have on point, right? Typically games move along, they
Right.
stay on time. The courts can be a little tough.
Well, you just slip and slide out there.
Yeah.
There was at one point where a kid slipped and fell, turned the ball over in the backcourt. So, I mean, full court press, team takes it away, scores a bucket. Maybe got fouled because I checked the floor. I started when you go over something, you think it's wet, so you start doing this with your shoe.
Yeah.
And there was just no water there. It was just that dusty.
At
that
any
slippery.
point, did somebody think a whistle from another court
Yep.
was on your court?
Tons.
So the acoustics in there, because people walk and they work out in there. Sometimes the acoustics carry. So that's really the only
Tons. There
downside
was
of playing there.
one time that it stopped. For sure, kids were just standing around looking at me.
They thought
and
it was you.
I'm like, play on. Now, I will say
Did you have to give a 5-second
hate
call?
once, yeah, and then we got yelled at for not giving another one.
That's 5, man. That's 5.
There was 1, 2, same team that I told to bring more players. They had a team come through that were third graders right after. So same coach. And I was talking to him up. He was super cool. He played what do you do? He played football for he coached football at Emporia State.
Oh,
and I
okay.
talked to him because I went to Lindenwood.
I coached
both
a guy.
MIAA schools.
Trayvon Ammons that played at Emporia State.
He started MABC in St. Joe. I'm assuming you probably have seen that.
I don't know if we've played in St. Joe a couple of times, but I don't know if we played MABC.
Right. So I was just getting his kind of life story because he coached at Emporia for 3 years, and then he went and worked in St. Joe. Not really sure if he started there or if he did something at Missouri Western too. I can't remember. But he started this whole thing, and he grew it to what it is today. So they're the Spartans, so MABC, because I asked if they're from Michigan, because they had the Michigan State wannabe logo. And he goes, no, I'm just a big Tom Izzo fan. So it's just funny how, like, people start things based on their likes and interests.
Yeah. Well, good for you, man.
So, it's kind of cool.
And you do realize, I think you probably know this now if you didn't going into this weekend, whenever you want games,
they'll give me games.
you can get games.
Well, especially if Will's doing 14 games, they're like, please. Jim Sowers came up to me. This is so funny because he goes,
I can't believe
Will,
you met he's such a good egg.
He goes, Will is always the last one done.
Yeah.
Always. But he's like, with Andrew, you guys fly through games. I'm like, you need to pair it up. You need to be paired up with Will more often.
Hey, so I got just real quick before we get on to like big sports. If we do, maybe we won't. It doesn't matter. We do whatever we want to a morning dump. Do you wave players in at the scorer's table?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're polished enough because of your old profession, getting back into it where you still work the mechanics.
I'll tell you what.
Because mechanics struggle. I think people struggle with mechanics officiating. If they just used proper mechanics, I think it would go a lot smoother.
So I very much disliked that they would call fouls away from the scorer's table. So for me, how I'm taught, you call a foul down low, you switch, you run up, you say foul's on 1-5 green, 1-5 green here, and now you're on different sides. Like, dude takes baseline. And
that's how it
fans.
should be done to keep guys from being on the same ends of the floor, getting the same vantage point.
But I will say, Will had once said, he's like, man, I'm not as young as you anymore.
I get it.
Can't, and so, like, that's why it was hard for me, though, to adjust because it's like telling me that how I rode a bike for 15, 20 years
I get it.
is not how you ride a bike anymore. You have to ride it backwards. Like, you have to pedal backwards instead of forwards.
Brent's going to love you.
And I'm like, what?
He's going to love you.
I just could. But then it gets me lazy.
Yeah.
Right? Because if I'm lazy in my craft, if I'm not doing everything the way it should be done, now I'm going to be like not paying as close of attention.
So the more you do this
more.
and you get to working with guys, you can walk through that. And then every now and again you can say, hey, you want to switch ends?
Mm-hmm. And that's what we did.
Yeah.
Like at a timeout, I said, hey, let's switch. Because I need that divide. I don't want to get, like, as much as I joke around with parents or even coaches, like, I don't want to get jawed at the whole game. Nobody wants to.
And, so did I tell you about when when John came to kind of oversee one of the early games that I was doing, and we had a 3-man crew, and he was teaching me about how to rotate to make sure you get
I'm only a 2-man guy. I've never done the 3-man
when you get the different
game.
vantage points, and I practically was going to wet the bed, right? But Higgy was super cool, and we're good buds to this day. And the whole rotation thing, so there's 2 things I think that get under coach's skin. Number 1, not crossing half court. And number 2, not changing ends.
Mm-hmm.
Anything other than that, I think you can do what you do, because obviously I'm going to come watch you now because you're a conversationalist, so I could just imagine you like talking guys off the ledge or gals because you're kind of quippy and
I try to be witty.
yeah, and I'm sure sometimes it catches people off guard
because most refs won't interact with you.
Now I don't know how long you can keep that up, because you'll get to know guys and organizations and teams, but if you can, hey man, good on you.
Now, the game with Westside, before we move on, the big guy down low, at one point, they were funny because I got 2 more stories for you. I got to tell you the second one, too. They were funny because they would get mad after the foul was called in favor of them. So it's like we saw the foul, we called the foul, but then they'd get mad that there was a foul. Even though and I couldn't grasp like what had happened.
You're like, what's going on?
And so like at one point, dude fouled and almost like got up into him, like,
Yeah,
kind of did one of like these things. And I'm like, guys, this is like AAU basketball. Like, what are we doing?
Hey, don't be blaspheming AAU.
I'm not. It's one of the more competitive levels, but it's also not.
That's not what you were playing in January at the Lead Center?
Right, exactly. So I
You're funny.
I walked up to him because he's slapping the whatever out of me. And I'm like, dude, the foul was called. Like, I said, I'm having trouble. Do you know the difference between not calling a foul and a
Are
foul?
you having these conversations real
one-on-one
time?
with the player.
Oh, you're funny.
With the player.
You're funny.
Because I'm like, if I didn't call the foul, it's one thing. But the foul was called. Dude, accept the free throws. You're taking shots here. I said, don't try to get all up in somebody's grill. That's going to lead to a tech.
Oh, you're that guy. Did you tee anybody up?
No, I didn't tee anybody
Okay.
up. Normally, I'm not. I'm really gracious when it comes to technicals, unless
Bang
the
'em.
coach will say something to me that is very unchristian-like. And then I'll say, all right, man.
No big deal.
Exactly.
Do you have some non-negotiables?
Don't put that crap on me.
Is like the F word an automatic tee? Is
Yeah.
it like? So do you have some of those?
Yeah, I would say the F word directed at an official or another player.
Yeah.
Automatic. Now, if you mumble it under your breath, I'm not going to be like, okay, you're getting teed up for this.
Yeah.
But now, if you scream it like you missed an and one attempt and you screamed the F word,
You gotta have some speaks.
I will probably have a meeting about it, and I would say don't ever do that again.
Are you the talk out of the side of your whistle guy? Are you like the guys behind you? Like, hey, Mark. I mean, come on, man. Like next time, I'm gonna have to hit you with one. Let's Simadonna. Mm-hmm. Are you that?
little
dude?
bit. Because I talk to him a lot. I'm like, get the hands off, because I try to let play go on. I don't want it to be whistle after whistle after whistle after whistle, but I'm like, get out of the paint, 3, get out of the paint, but the whistle's in my mouth when I say that. And so you can kind of sometimes hear the like come through. You know what I mean? When you're talking.
This is gonna be a lot of fun.
But, dude,
I'm glad I could be the conduit.
Let me tell you here. There was one thing that drove me a little bit nuts. I can't remember the team. Was it Supreme?
Oh, Lincoln Supreme.
It may have been Supreme. I don't want to say it was them.
Coach Campbell and Coach Ba, those are both their
Oh, nice.
Lincoln East and Lincoln Southwest.
So
Those
there
are
were-
both their organizations.
Can't remember if it was them or not. But before the game, the basket, one of our baskets was set at 9.5 and the other one was set at 10.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not looking for that. But they realized that, so we were late starting the game because we had to raise it up. And then he wanted to change the basketball from one
Why
to
did you have
another.
like a bright orange one? Was it a
Well,
little light
so
on
I
air?
think he thought the one that we had was an outdoor ball. Even it felt like an outdoor ball, but it played like an indoor ball. Does
Are you that
make
guy that
sense?
drops both?
I am. Yep, I did. And then I looked at my my other ref.
Home team didn't get to choose?
So that's what I asked. I said, "Who's the home team?" Oh, I don't know. I'm like, well, then I'm taking the first ball that's given to me. If you guys don't know who the home team is, what are we doing?
Is it not crazy that for a guy that is supposed to be a football guy, that's the sport that I least like to talk about? I feel like I almost know the most about basketball because I'm around it the most.
Right.
For the longest amount of time. And baseball is my favorite sport. So me asking you all these questions are things over the last 12 years that I watch and I laugh.
Right.
I laugh because it's almost like, I don't know. Did you call, how many carry violations? Palming.
2.
Are you floored that it happens as much as it does?
Carrying or
Yeah.
the calls?
The calls.
The calls on carrying, yes, because I think
Did you get a Euro step?
I had a couple of Euros. Maybe 1 or 2 were called travels.
Yeah.
But in regards to carrying, it's hard because you never really know how much is he actually carrying.
Mm-hmm.
Is he on the side of the ball? Is he a little bit underneath where you can kind of get away with it? Is it a full carry, step over through? Is it something like to where he's dribbling so high and everyone thinks it's a carry, but his hand's still on top of the ball? That's my favorite. Fans that think they know the rule.
Yeah.
But then it's really all up to the referee's judgment at the end of the day. It's, hey, if I call it a carry, it's a carry, and that's how I'm going to call it the rest of the game. If I'm going to let it go, I'm going to let that go for the rest of the game, unless it's something crazy.
Hey, Shane, And I'm Andrew Rogers. I'm the tone setter.
Signing off.
So like in radio here, like when I do drops, I might use a drop like this for kind of like a warm-up drop just to kind of get me going. Is there like a warm-up call that you know, are you out there thinking I got to call a foul?
Yeah, he
or
basically
something?
told you stop touching people.
I set the tone.
You set the tone with that. Okay.
Because especially if it's way away from the basket, if you're impeding somebody from drawing up a play by getting your hands all in on them, I'm like, dude, you can't do that. Like, I know people hate the hand check foul, and I'm not a fan of the hand check foul either. But to a degree, I understand it because for somebody that is trying to get around the
coaches?
defender,
Get his hands off. Get his hands off.
Oh, all the time.
That is like
all the time.
That's in the top 3 of things that I hear every game.
But see,
get his hands off.
You'll notice by, I would say, 3/4 of the way through, they're playing the game that I am calling. It's the best. It's the best.
Mr. Control Freak. That is awesome.
Because
I'm glad you enjoyed yourself.
As long as they know, like, hey, you know, X, Y, and Z is happening in this game, don't keep doing that unless you want to foul out, then don't keep doing that.
Bless your heart. Here's to
Didn't get a charge, though. I really wanted to, like, get into one.
Here's to, like, kicking off your officiating career.
Here in town.
On a humbug.
Out of nowhere. You make so much money officiating, too.
Dude.
So much money.
I get it. I told you, my buddy that I talked to the other day, because he's a Metro official and he does football and basketball, and I saw him at UBT, and you'll be out there at some point too. And I said, man, such and such, Sunday, do you get any time off? And he's like, hey man, I'm building a house. You're either making money or spending money. I like this job. I was like,
say less.
Hey, knock yourself out.
I'm telling you, man, I made $150, right?
Yeah.
Through 6 games. And that $150, what did I talk to you about before we started?
The wedding fund.
Not only just the wedding fund, but I still to this day am not the handiest of men. And
you're gonna get stuff fixed.
I'm gonna make sure that the couches that I get redelivered are gonna have the legs on them. That's where that 150 is going.
You're so petty. I love it. A man of principle.
That's me. Before we close this thing off, I want to switch back to Creighton real fast because we didn't fully get to these points. But we started talking about defense, and it's a great transition because we were just talking basketball. We talked about their defense and their ability not only to block shots, get steals, but do that all without fouling. Only 6 personal fouls in that game. Greg McDermott said after the game that we are better than where we were in Maui, which I believe is the most important note to take away from the press conference because every team must overcome challenges throughout the regular season. Some are hit with injuries. Some are hit with scoring woes. Some are hit with just unluckiness. Yeah, pull that into this team wherever you so please because they've been kind of hit with a little bit of everything throughout the year. All that adversity, though, has led them to the right place. They know who they are. I wouldn't call it a new identity because I know a lot of people were like, oh, they've taken on this new identity because they're not the team in Maui. They're different, which I can understand why you can gravitate to a claim like that. But I would argue that it's more of an enhanced identity. This team knew who they were and who they wanted to be from the very beginning. But that's why they're so dangerous now. It's because they've taken in an enhanced identity.
And remember, when they lost Lusk, I was just thinking, like all the coaches that they lost, and Mac had kind of turned over his staff, and everybody's like, oh, man, you know, defensive guru, he's in West Lafayette. And I said before the season started, and I didn't feel good about it about, 15 games in. I was like, gosh, maybe I'm wrong. I felt like they had the components to be a good defensive team. Their metrics were great last year, one of the best team in the Big East last year with defensive metrics, and I think it kind of caught some people off guard. I said they have all the tools necessary. Trey Alexander, he's going to guard your best defender. Kalkbrenner's a good rim protector. He keeps you a little gun-shy from wanting to attack the rim. They can switch 2 through 4 or 1 through 4 with ball screens, and I feel like they could be good defensively. The most impressive thing on Saturday was with only 9 turnovers for Xavier. 9. And I think only 5 were live ball, so you're not getting runouts. They defended Xavier well. Only 9. If you ask Xavier, if they're only going to turn the ball over 9 times on the road and Fremantle's going to go
win.
8 of 11,
That's a win.
you probably think you're in good spots. They just couldn't get any easy looks.
Couldn't score the basketball.
And I don't know. And for the 57% that Creighton shot and the 46 or 7% from 3 or whatever they shot, and that offensive efficiency, how they carved up a good team, 38% I think they were from 3. That's really good what they did on the defensive end because you held Xavier to 48% from the floor. Boom only had the 1 field goal. Outside of Fremantle, nobody not named Kunkel shot 50% from the floor. Like, you're good. And I couldn't believe how they got away from Fremantle. And I know Nunji got in trouble. And
their bigs did get in trouble, which allowed for Creighton to get a lot of points on the inside.
Yeah.
A ton.
Well, and I mean, and Creighton still only shot 9 free throws. I mean, Xavier shoots only 4, which is vastly different. I mean, I watched a high school game on Saturday. There were 48 fouls.
Not in my games.
48 fouls called on Saturday. So, I mean, depending – but I liked what you said about officiating, though, because you said that, by the third quarter or, halfway through the second half because they're still playing halves for whatever.
Yeah, 20 minutes, running clock.
I don't understand why American college basketball and youth play halves. Almost no one else in the world does. Everybody plays quarters, but hey, I'm not going to get on that.
What do they do in the NBA?
I'm not going to.
Yeah.
Women do it. It's better. I understand the TV inventory and timeouts and having to redo that, but you know what? It can happen.
So how much are you missing, though? Let's go into this. How much are you missing timeout-wise? Because when you –
2, probably.
You missed 2 timeouts.
Probably. The under 16 and the under 4.
Yeah, but you add those timeouts into quarters.
Maybe.
So, like, at the end, first quarter starts.
Yeah.
Middle of the way through, which would be 15 minutes and a half, first timeout. End of the first, that's 10 minutes, timeout. Okay? Start of the second, go to half, 5 minutes, right? And then end of second, you're already at halftime.
Yeah, I guess
it's the same
I guess
timeout
you just
structure.
have to build your revenue window.
Right. You just have
because it's there.
You just have to put it where you want. And it's gonna be the same regardless, DB, because when you go into the second half, you're gonna want them to pay more money for those spots.
And resetting fouls. Why wouldn't you, though?
It makes a whole lot of sense if it does not alter your TV. If it
Is
doesn't
there
alter
any
your
other
revenue
men's
schedule.
basketball played on the planet that uses halves?
No.
I don't think so either.
What does the G League do?
They're quarters.
Quarters.
Yeah.
Okay. What does IMG do?
International quarters.
Does IMG play halves?
Quarters.
Okay. So yeah, then no. College basketball, NCAA basketball is
And
the
youth.
only one. And youth. Well, youth is a little different because if you're doing a tournament and you're trying to keep it like on schedule, like 20-minute running clock is okay to me.
That's okay. Hey, how quick did it take you to get under 2 minutes clock stops like that? Did you read the rule book that I said was taped to the
Yep. Yep, sure did.
Attaboy.
The sheet of paper. I'll tell you what, though, we didn't have a lot of games where the clock stopped under a minute.
Blowouts?
Yeah. Well, it was either a blowout or just a good fast-paced, fast-break basketball.
Good for you, man. We'll see you next week then.
Yeah. Well, not next week. This weekend is my my birthday weekend. I am not reffing.
Oh, that's
I have
right.
some friends
Mr.
coming into
February
town.
4th.
Uh-huh.
Where are you going? To the Blues Bar?
Probably one of the days.
Dave and Buster's.
That's another place I'll be. I think I told you where I'm going to dinner. Where am I going to eat?
I don't think you did.
This is a big deal.
Oh, Osaka.
I'm going to Hibachi.
Abachi Banzai.
How early do I have to call for a reservation there? Like now?
You'll be fine. You'll be fine. It's big. There's a lot of room in there. We stopped at Osaka after Nebraska football game.
Just on a humbug?
On a Saturday night. Just on a humbug because it was on the
Look at
way.
that.
And it was kind of late, It's probably 8, and I did want to eat like, breading or fried or whatever. So I'm like, meat on a stick. I can do that.
Amen. Amen. All right, I'm going 2 more places for my birthday. Or
Totally
once potential. Once potential, but I think I've told you before what I want to do as long as I can get them cheap.
What time you starting your day out if you're going to all these places?
Well, remember, he doesn't.
Or are you celebrating the whole week?
He's not like me.
He
so
does
his
it half
birthday will be longer than just the birthday day.
Okay. Yeah, this is like what I'm doing when my friends come into town. Like my birthday is Saturday.
If you can get them cheap, you're going to get tickets to Creighton.
Yes, correct. And they play Villanova on
like
Saturday.
How I walk myself through that? That's
and then
good.
where am I ending up on Saturday night?
Saturday night, you will be Dave and Buster's.
No, that will probably be like an afternoon thing.
Dude, are you just going on a bender?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But see,
It sounds like it.
But see, if we go to Dave & Buster's, we'll still end up somewhere else after that.
Okay. Are you eating at Dave and Buster's?
So you know what we do? Instead of like buying prizes for the games, you can use them on apps. So we just get appetizers and some beer.
Wow.
When is the Creighton game? Is it an afternoon game?
No. Well, has the TV time been set?
For Villanova?
Yeah.
6:30. So that would be a night game.
You got plenty of time.
Yeah,
And by the way, Nova's bad. Do you see them melt down
man,
against
they
Providence?
were supposed to be so good too.
And
Not
I
so good,
I
but
think
good.
that game was like 1 or a pick'em at home. They just can't get it going.
No, yeah, I mean, you can't get outscored in the second half like they did. But yeah, so that's kind of the day. If I can't get into the Creighton game, it's okay because I told my buddies we'll only go if it's like if we can get there and the seats are really inexpensive, which Villanova should be because
They won't because it's Nova and Creighton's playing their tail off. So I'm a little concerned.
Okay. Maybe I get your lawyer's seats.
Oh, AC? Hey, AC, he'll take care of you. How many people is it?
4.
He might.
I don't know if he has 4 seats.
He does.
Oh,
actually.
really?
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
AC, if you're listening, I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind.
Let's see what we can do.
No, I
man.
may end up at the casino. That's where I was hoping you were going to say. You knew that.
And I knew that I would have totally probably figured that out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's probably what we'll end up doing.
What's your game of chance?
Chance roulette.
Oh, my gosh. Could you pick anything more higher stakes?
No.
Why not just play craps?
I love
or
craps.
blackjack.
I love craps. Really do. Like, that's probably my favorite game. But I would venture to say the way I play craps isn't like a game of chance because I play it safe. Roulette is where I, like, maybe play the higher stake game.
Really?
Yeah. I love blackjack, too, though. I mean, as you know.
If I go to the casino, and it's been one time in the past since the pandemic, I'm definitely playing slow motion poker.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Every day that ends in Y.
And maybe twice on Sunday.
Yeah, like roulette? Like you just like the immediate rush?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I do that when I'm with my friends.
Yeah, always bet on black.
That's what I do.
That's all I can tell you.
That's all I do.
You and passenger 57. By the way, Wesley Snipes may be all good with his taxes because he sure does tweet a lot. He must have whipped that evasion thing. Did he settle up with the IRS?
Well, he's back. I think he's got a new movie coming out.
You know what?
Wesley?
Speaking of the IRS, we're not going to get into this today.
Yeah.
But there was an article that came out yesterday, maybe 2 days ago, that I was reading that could have some impact financially on like fantasy sports, sports betting, and I think we could get into that.
The bill that was introduced the other day?
Right. I think we could get into that.
It always, for some reason, gets killed.
I I hope it does again. But this is the bill the president signed off on.
Yeah.
So if the president signs off on something,
I saw that on the news.
Is that like in place for sure? I think so.
I don't know. There's
because
this,
it went up
this,
the ranks. It went up the House, the
thing
Senate,
called state-run government.
And there is. And that actually came into play a lot with a lot of very political things regarding
absolutely
like abortion for one. Is something that
medicinal marijuana.
Medicinal marijuana, another one. So
table games.
It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see, but you're absolutely right there. Now, if you're using platforms like FanDuel, DraftKings, which is nationally known, those were already taxed to begin with.
Yeah.
But even like Venmo and Cash App and things, those are, I think, also nationally owned things that could easily be taxed.
So the quick funny anecdote before we get out of here.
Mm-hmm.
In my former life, I used to pay my rent via Venmo.
Mm-hmm. That's what I currently did as well.
And all of the sudden, can't do that anymore. Let's do this. Oh, must be that thing called taxes.
Mm-hmm. We may get into that a little bit. I want to read more about that story so that I can fill people in because, for one, I don't know if anybody else out there is like me. I don't like to read my news. I like to listen to my news. So I want to hear other perspectives and then kind of bring my own perspective to the table. So I'm going to do that. I'll look up the information. Too, see what I can dig up. But, that could have a lot of impact on people that play fantasy sports out there.
Absolutely.
So if you want to stick around for any of that
Isn't that what ultimately killed online poker?
Yes. Yes. Wow. Yes.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Dude, I'm kind of smart.
Whoa.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
When
did online poker officially
I
take a
don't
back
know,
seat?
but do you remember the boom?
People love
And then all of
to
a
play.
sudden things started getting shut down and people weren't getting paid out and I remember.
I wouldn't say that's just all taxes, but it definitely had its play and its part.
Do you know who's the only undefeated combatant ever outside of Floyd Mayweather and a couple of others?
Kevin Negreanu.
Uncle Sam. Uncle Sam's going to win eventually.
Yes, he will. He's Damon Benning, at Damon Benning on Twitter. I'm at Andrew Rogers TV. Follow the show at Hurrdat Sports for Morning Dump, at HVarsity Radio for Coffee and Cream. If you missed anything, go to your favorite podcast app. That's Apple, that's Spotify. Search Hail Varsity Radio. You can find the show there. That's Coffee and Cream. Search Morning Dump, though, wherever you find your podcast for something like this. Do you realize we talked for over 40 minutes here?
Yeah.
It's what we do on a Monday.
It happens fast. Exactly, Bo.
We'll see you tomorrow.